Tighten your cinch. Tighten your cinch. Tighten your cinch. This is something I've seen my whole life. Seen a lot of it. And I think the vast majority of people that ride around with their cinch too loose, it's just because they're absent-minded and they saddle their horse and cinch it up and then don't think about the fact that the horse blows a bunch of air out and that their cinch is loose. I think most people are just absent-minded. There's a handful of people whom I've come to understand think they're being kinder to the horse. Yeah, or maybe that they're proud that they're a better rider, or they think there's some advantage to this loose cinch business. And there's not. There's not at all. I get it. If you got a high-weathered horse and your saddle fits good, yeah, that cinch doesn't need to be there. Everything sits where it needs to be. But I'll explain why that cinch does need to be there. And the whole idea that you're being better to your horse in some way, shape, or form doesn't really add up if you think about how it works. When you cinch a horse, you're cinching to their sternum. If your horse is way too fat, if you've got way too ill of a fit or whatever, then it cinches around their body. And like I say, a lot of times I ride lots of baby colts and nothing fits them. Cinch weight, it cinches all the way around their body. That's why I only ride them for 15, 20 minutes at a time. But if you have everything correct, or correct fit and everything like that, you're really only cinching to their sternum. And how tight or how loose you have that doesn't affect how it feels on their sternum. So you're not doing them any favors, but you are doing them, your horse, and everybody around you and yourself a real disfavor if you're riding around with a loose cinch. And here's some of the reasons why. The main one is just, as far as I'm concerned, just pure politeness. If I'm riding with you and you've got a loose cinch and you get in a wreck, I'm obligated by the code of we ride stirrup to stirrup together to try to help you, to try to save you, to try to get you out of a wreck. And if I have to risk my life to save you because you didn't tighten your cinch, that's rude. That's really rude that you put me in that situation. Now let's put it around the other way. If you get in a wreck and I'm obligated to try to save you and I can't get you saved because my cinch is too loose, now that's really rude of me. That is me not looking out for the person I'm riding with. So either way, if you don't have a tight cinch, you're being rude to whoever's around you, but because you're putting their life at risk. Then in terms of your horse, and I'm sure a lot of people that watch these videos have seen a lot of wrecks that involved a loose cinch, whether it was a loose horse laid down and roll and got the saddle under their belly, or a variety of other ones. But I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wrecks because I've been doing this a long time and there was always young horses around, so I've seen a lot of wrecks. If it's because your cinch is loose, then you were just asking for it. That's just, it's not forgivable. So tighten your cinch. It's not hurting your horse. It's doing everybody a favor. Some funny non-tighten your cinch stories. The first one that comes to mind is my lovely bride had a broken arm and couldn't saddle her horse. And even with a broken arm and it was in a sling, she was still snubbing colts for me, but she couldn't saddle her own horse. The kind of horses that she snubbed colts for me on were stuff that other cowboys flunked out because they were too bronky. So it was about all I could do to saddle her horse too. Anyway, I saddled her horse for her and I just barely snugged the cinch up and walked off, and she came over to get on him and she went to step on him, and with her arm in the cast, she stepped on him and that saddle rolled. And then, weren't you under him with a foot hung in the stirrup? Or something? Just landed on your ass in the mud and yelled at me. Okay, so it wasn't that big of a wreck, but potentially could have been because that was kind of a bad horse. So there, tighten your cinch. 2, don't trust anybody else to tighten your cinch for you. And 3, don't get your husband to do something for you because we're husbands. We do it wrong. Duh. But that's off the top of my head the only non-tight cinch story or anything. Yeah. Okay.
That's not really
No, but that's a funny story. So a couple of days later, that was on a different horse, actually, I
the
think.
same horse.
Oh, was it on 10?
Yeah.
10. I think 10's name was 10 because that's how many notches he had in his belt. So anyway, a couple of days later, I did saddle her horse again, and I did tighten her cinch that time. And she went to get on. That's where I was thinking you got hung up. She went to get on, and her foot slipped out of the stirrup, and she hung her sling over the saddle horn. So she was hung to him, like basically by her head. And she's really, really short, and this horse was pretty tall, so her feet were about this far off the ground. And that was a freaky deal because I was trying to, whoa, boy, easy. He was taking it from her, but he wasn't going to take much of anything from me. I don't remember how we got you out of that deal, but you lived somehow. I know you lived because you're here. Tighten your cinch. Tighten your cinch. Tighten your cinch.